active use, active use, active use. That is like the slow repair of the fabric of downtown again. So like, it doesn't
mark
seem...
that.
All right, so I've got a very different yet important video for you guys today. I hung out with Ryan Young of Intersctruct Build and Design, and he's doing a ton of really interesting things in the Paramore area and beyond in the downtown corridor. Many of you know, if you've been watching my channel recently, I've got this renewed excitement around the downtown Orlando area and what's coming. I think the investment in more residential and more cultural opportunities for mom and pop shops and really little businesses to pop up and thrive, as well as new bigger businesses coming to downtown and able to thrive, I think is really exciting. So I hope you enjoy our conversation as we go through multiple different projects that he's working on, as we talk about the Paramore area, the West Church area, where it's like Exploria Stadium and Camping World Stadium, all the way down to Amway and beyond.
There was a very cool metal shop that was in here for, I don't know, 40 plus years, owned by a family, and they operated a very small business out of here, and it kind of was a cool part of the bones to the building, and we left a lot of that stuff. Like you could see where some of their barrels were fastened to the ground and fasteners. So like, that's our feel, you know, the architecture that we do and the architecture that we, you know, create for our clients. A lot of it is about just like leaving existing conditions, exposed materials, kind of making that part of the story. So that was what was cool about this building. Yeah. The other thing that we loved is just the exposed ceilings that were in here. I mean, these old girder trusses are unusual. You just don't see them anymore. It would be crazy expensive to do it. So we kind of liked the feel of the open nature. So.
How does Orlando, like, you know, I was just in Boston this past weekend. Everything's 200,
Went to
300
college
years
in
old.
Boston.
Yeah.
Loving life up there.
So adaptive reuse is kind of like, they have to do that everywhere. Right. What about Orlando though? Because you've got empty lots, you've got some different stuff. Is there a good request for that locally?
So that was a good reason for us to move into Paramore. Not only did we want to be on the edge of downtown, I mean, we see the growth coming this way. Yeah. We like our development in some of these smaller neighborhoods, like seeing districts actually develop like around us is like really incredible. A lot of our architecture and design, we really start thinking about spaces between buildings. So the courtyard in this building was really interesting when we bought it because it was overgrown, it was a dumpster, but the interstitial space between, you know, the two buildings was really, it's only 15 or 16 feet, but it, you know, it's turning into something that's a really cool space. This is also, you know, the other thought was with having a tenant up front, we have a shared courtyard, which was attractive to them. So like shared events, you know, early morning coffees, you know, different types of events when the weather is nice, we can have out here. This is a cool way to get some perspective on the project and kind of what we're thinking just from a small scale infill development. We purchased this property, the middle lot, and then there's a second lot which goes all the way out to the fence. When we bought this property, we were able to get that third property that's out there. So it doesn't look like a lot, but it's actually, that's the scale that I was talking about that we're interested in. It's gonna allow us to build a 60-foot wide building by 100 and by 3 stories. So it's a boutique office building that we'll be able to put there. The other cool thing about this property that I really loved is the retention pond doesn't look good, but the possibilities of what we can do, and we've been talking to the city about it, and we can talk about it when we go out there, but we really think that can be restored to a park.
Yeah, you had told me this when we would hit a little prep call. Like, this actually wasn't supposed to be flooded out and exactly what it is. This kind of became just a throwaway because of everything coming in.
It was, so it's basically an ad hoc retention pond that was done when the stadium was developed. So everything got pushed down half a block to a block. Paramore got cut off, which is disappointing. It is what it is at this point, but you know, that was our main street that ran through downtown Paramore that had a lot of historic buildings. But this, I think we can get back to a point of like actually having a park, and we're super excited about like pushing that relationship with the city, and there's some interest there, which is great. The projector is not on, but we're calling this the Art Cube. Okay. So this is part of the bigger process of, you know, how we're thinking about urban development, and we love for art to be associated with our projects. So not only having, you know, architecture be the focus of our buildings, but also having art integrated into the architecture of our buildings. So this was an experiment that Pat Green, who now runs the public art, you know, situation at the City of Orlando now, he and I have like talked about this idea forever, and we're just like, let's try it. So we bought a shipping container, cut it in half, and we're like, let's put, every couple months, let's cycle an artist into the art cube. So this is to engage the public in a way that hasn't been engaged specifically in Paramore. There's no public, there's no public art. This doesn't look like much, but it actually has been a kind of a hotbed for a partnership that developed over a mural on the front side of the building. The partnership is with Jennifer Desire and the Desire Foundation. She runs a local nonprofit that is almost solely focused on Paramore.
Okay.
This was called the Unity Mural. Maureen did a fantastic job in this, and that's Jennifer Desire, who I mentioned before. So this is how our relationship started. She was used as the figure on the mural. We knew at some point that we were going to have to decommission because we had to put windows in the building and there was no way to keep the mural.
Yeah.
So that's when Snap comes into the picture. Patrick Kahn with Snap, he had this whole project, City Unseen project that was going on, where he had murals that were turned into AR, and so he helped us create this AR piece. So you can stand here with your phone, get on the app, and you can actually see how the mural overlays on our building now. So it's like, again, this is another community piece for anybody who wants to see it. It's always there.
West Church Corridor.
Yes.
So what's going on here from your perspective? What was it, and what are you hoping that it becomes?
So the interesting thing about what we're calling the West Church Corridor is the connection between the major event venues. When you start looking at how Camping World's engaged, Exploria, and Amway all along the west, they all sit perfectly on West Church Street. This could be a true urban pedestrian connection that still would have cars and everybody could get to their businesses, but just imagine this more with better landscaping and dialed up with a bike path, and those connections really start happening. And then one step further, connecting the park spaces, like the park that we're talking about across the street, that connects. Go down to Terry and take a left, and that runs into Luminary Green, which is right in, we've got to get across the railroad tracks.
Yep.
But it still ties into another park, and then you keep going down Robinson at that point, and then you're back to Lake Eola.
Also, we've got a very cohesive downtown where people can enjoy, they work, live, play. I mean, that's I was at the state of downtown not too long ago, and they were talking about the connectivity space of light rail. Now you got the Sunrail coming from MCO all the way to Universal, and then you keep going. I mean, all of a sudden we start becoming less and less a car-dependent city. That's the goal. And the more people like you that are investing in the space, I think the better we become.
This is Black Bottom Church.
Okay.
This part is a city-owned lot, which they've been working, with, they'll keep it a city lot, but Pastor Jackson will be able to use it for parking, which is great.
So this is going to take some vision.
It's already taken some vision.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what you do.
This was an interesting one that I wasn't expecting to do when we moved to Paramore, but just with some of the work that we were starting to do in Paramore, there was a connection through a couple people. I don't even remember where the connection came from, but Pastor Jackson, who owns this church, called me out of the blue and said that she needed help because at some point the roof had collapsed. The church was just in disrepair and it was about to be demolished by the city of Orlando. And thankfully Commissioner Hill stepped in and some other people at the city, and Pastor Jackson was adamant that the building stay. I mean, this is a historic building. It's in 2025 will be the birthday for this building, so it'll be 100 years old in 2025. So our goal is to get the building open. So on the 100th birthday, Pastor Jackson can have services in here again.
Working with the city, how do you feel things have changed maybe over the past 20 years in regards to their either forethought or the way that they work with development and how they want to see the city change?
Right. So I think that the city has been helpful in moving the needle on trying to push some development in the Parramore area. Generally, our permitting process for our building, the adaptive reuse, all of that went through smoothly. Things like putting the art container on the street, all of that fell into place with their support relatively quickly. So I think, they see our level of commitment and have been helping along the way. And there's developers that are coming and going and looking at property, but they're looking at doing these giant apartment buildings and some of these other things. But I feel like if the city knows the intent behind the development and it's good for the neighborhood, they've been generally supportive. So this is a property that we're redeveloping. It's an interesting, facade of a building that was an old packing warehouse.
Okay.
The inside is incredibly beautiful though. I mean, you just don't see wood framing like this, so it's a very special building. The other thing that I really like about this property is the lot that's associated with, this is another lot that can be developed.
Yeah.
So adaptively reusing, you know, an old warehouse building that's beautiful on the inside that could have like a fantastic use of multiple tenants or one big tenant that's the right fit for this building. The city has kind of dialed up facade grants and how they're helping owners with their building.
Okay.
So we're trying to get the shell work done on the inside of the building to get a sprinkler, get a fire alarm into the building. Just be careful coming across the trench here.
Wow.
So this building was great. We put skylights in to bring in more national light into the space. The building also sits up on a column line where it's a perfect 3 units, you know, a unit here, a unit there. This will just blow completely open with glass. And like it'll change the dynamic of what it looks like on the outside.
Yeah.
So the city contributing a couple $100,000 to a renovation like that makes owners motivated to kind of do something. And this is in such a unique position across the street from Exploria. It's amazing.
So they've got the whole connection here. We got under I-4, this is gonna be more like park and like usable space eventually, which I think is really cool. When I first heard about it getting announced, I'm like, there's no way. And then the more they actually finished it out, I'm like, okay. And then you got the $500 million Amway Center, like entertainment district. It's gonna make this great. But what's going on behind us?
We're getting new tenants, new restaurants. There's a lot of activity that's been happening here. If Cheyenne can get reactivated, we've done some conceptual planning for this corner. It doesn't seem like a lot, but there's actually a lot of real estate on this corner. Like if we extend the balcony to Cheyenne around to this side, put a new elevator in the back, we've created kind of a patio space. Now this is all just conceptual work that we've done, but like it works. You know, it works on this corner and it makes it active. So if you pair an active Cheyenne saloon that has like music events again to an outdoor space that's on a dead corner that's kind of got, you know, our ultimate I-4 project is like shadowing over it. Active use, active use, active use. That is like the slow repair of the fabric of downtown again. So like, it doesn't
mark
seem...
that.
New Truist Tower, the Lincoln building called The Edge is happening right there. Cheyenne Saloon gets reactivated, a new food hall, a new platform for the Sunrail. Urban Park, Sports Entertainment District. The West Church Corridor suddenly becomes like something to talk about.
And it's easy. I mean, you've got Winter Park, Maitland, everybody up Seminole County, easy to get to. You've got, from the park section, you've got a lot of easy on and off to get to this section as well. So I feel like you're not only planning on the people that live downtown to use this. I mean, it's going to be something that all of Central Florida can take advantage of.
This brings Church Street back to what it was. Like when I moved here, Sharper Image was here, restaurants were here. Like you would actually come down to do something on Church Street.
All right, so over at your building, you have these 2 buildings, you got that courtyard outside, really well used space. You've got a lot of these kind of empty sidewalk or empty spaces in the city, and you guys are reimagining what's going to go on here.
Yes. This is, again, the most like interesting thing that we do in our business. Like these strange interstitial spaces between buildings are like, have always been of interest to me. Alleyways, you know, even smaller than this, but this was like a perfect opportunity to explore something cool with design. So not only being able to reuse some of the materials from the ballroom like we were just talking about and like repurposing pavers that were over there, some of these giant steel arches that we're actually going to use to create like this outdoor living room of space. Like those arches aren't just reusing them for no reason. Like they actually are going to create an outdoor volume of space, like visually, still be open, but it still creates some height so you feel like you're in this outdoor living room, right? So that was really intentional, and being able to use things like that that are repurposed and recycled and then do it in a cool space like this are super exciting for us. The arches also afford us an opportunity. We're exploring solar. So maybe any of the power that's used out here, OUC is interested in supporting the project in some way. So like putting some solar panel for like the events that are out here. So everything that we use is given back to the grid, which is another cool story. We're also thinking about some really interesting stormwater management ideas that are out here, using some of these new systems that are combined with irrigation and also landscaping. it harvests the stormwater, it cleans it, and then it puts it back into where, where it needs to go. Putting all of that stuff together in a project like this is exciting for our design team.
Absolutely. I feel like it starts getting people thinking about other places. If you start like, hey, we would have never touched this because of the stormwater issue, or we would have never thought about this because is anybody going to use it?
Yeah.
But I think you have an amenity like this, and then all of a sudden the different little businesses around here think, well, I've got this really cool spot that other people want to use.
Right.
Now that starts catching on in other places around the city, and it just levels everybody up.
It's going to happen.
So you've been doing this for 20 years, you're 20 plus years here. What do you think the next 20 years holds for Orlando?
I think is really positive. I think it really is. The best piece of this for me as an architect and a builder and a small scale infill developer is to see some of these districts that have been evolving, and like that is a beacon for Orlando. It will continue to be a beacon for Orlando. This type of work is really exciting and fun because it changes a neighborhood. And like downtown has always been our home. Since day one, we started our office 2 blocks away on Pine Street. That's where we started, in a 500 square foot office space.
Who doesn't want to be part of something that's like growing and thriving and be around it, right? You're going to attract young people, you're going to attract new businesses, you're going to attract all types of stuff because of this really cool development going on. Thanks for everything you're doing for the city.
Welcome, yeah,
Appreciate
thank you.
I'm fascinated to see some of the older buildings that are getting renewed life, and Ryan and his team are doing an amazing job. So if you're looking to buy or sell a house anywhere in Central Florida, downtown or beyond, my team and I want to be your real estate resource of choice. Email us at info@pozekgroup.com or call the number in the description below. We'll see you guys on the next video.